Hi, welcome back to Scentuality. So we're going to continue with this perfume, and the first thing that I'm going to do is just smell the perfume just to refresh my memory. We'll just dip this stick in, rub a little bit on my hand, and take a smell. So I'm really getting the bass notes there really coming through, and I quite like how it smells. It smells masculine, but it does smell more transparent than I'd like. And what I think it needs is a beefing up a little bit. I think it needs a little bit of linalool. So what I'm going to do is add some heart notes. I don't want to add anything to the top, and the base is fine for me. The only thing I might add to the base is a little bit of labdanum, because I think that will work with the other base notes. But I mean, I like the base so much that I would have worn the base as it was, and I even made up some of the base off camera, and I made 10 milliliters of perfume. So these are just base notes mixed with some ethanol. I basically just doubled the quantities of the base, and that gave me, I think it was a 25% concentration. So I made 10 milliliters of perfume, and this is really handy. It's really masculine. It's quite suave. It's very creamy. It's sandalwood. It had that lovely calamus oil in there, a little bit of clear wood. It had some bourgeonal. What else did we put in? We put a little bit of frankincense in there. We put a little bit of opoponax. And you know, it's a nice little perfume, just base notes. It's simple, nothing complicated. Sometimes I like to wear something that's simple. Sometimes I like to wear something more complicated, but I think that's a really good little perfume for a man. So yeah, I made some up for myself, but yeah, we're going to add some linalool in here. I'm not too sure what I want to add in there. I think I'm going to add a little bit of basil, but I don't know what kind of basil I want to add. Maybe I will add some whole leaf to the heart. Maybe if I do that, I'll add a little bit of rosewood to the top. But I think we'll start with basil. So let's figure out what basil I want to add. I have a very sweet basil. It's very licoricey. I don't think I want to use that. So what I think I'm going to do, excuse me, is use another basil that I've got, which is particularly, excuse me, I have a really dry mouth. It's particularly high in linalool. So I'm going to use a little bit of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a glass pipette. Most of my oils are from Perfumer's World, and they come with their own pipettes, but a few oils that I have I've bought from other vendors, and they don't have a pipette. So as I say on all videos, the best practice is to use a plastic pipette, and then you throw the plastic pipette away after use. But you know, beginners tend to use a glass pipette in the beginning. I did. I've seen other people do it. I'm doing it now for convenience. I don't really get hung up on this, because I just think it's more important to make perfume, to get a feel for it, get started. I know other people will say, but you could contaminate your oils, and yes you can, which is why I'm giving this disclaimer. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use a glass pipette, and that's fine for me. You can do whatever you like at the end of the day. Yeah, take the top off this first. So this is high in linalool. It definitely doesn't smell like licorice. It's quite pungent, but I think this will blend much better with the oils that we are working with. Yeah, so quantities, how much do we want to add? I think I'm going to add something like 3 drops. and then we'll see what happens when we do that. So just add 3 drops to start with, and we'll write that down. So remember, when you're making a perfume, you really need to write everything down. So you write down the oil that you've used, how many drops you administered, and what the weight of those drops were. Yeah, so we've got basil, and it's a basil that is high in linalool. And we added 3 drops, and we'll write down the weight. Okay, so we've got 3 drops of basil. What I'm thinking might be nice with the basil is some dill seed, but I think what I'll do is, dill seed is quite strong, but it's one of those oils that smells really fresh, and I think the perfume has a lot of freshness, and what it needs is a little bit, it needs to be a little bit more dense. So rather than focus on some notes that will work well with the smell of the perfume, really I wanna change the character of it. So I think I might add some clary sage. I have a really dry mouth. I should have got some water. Never mind. Clary sage. I think I might add a little bit of clary sage just to beef up the heart a little bit. Because it is fairly transparent, a little bit more transparent than I'd like. So we're going to add a little bit of this. I don't want to add too much clary sage. I'm just going to add a couple of drops. Clary sage is a really strong oil. I think it's my favorite. Well, I like something like Dalmatian sit. Oh my god, I'm gonna need to get a drink. That's better. So yeah, what we are going to do is we are going to so we've added 2 drops of clary sage. And we'll write down the weight of that. Okay, a little bit of basil, a little bit of clary sage. I think maybe we need to add possibly another floral, but I'm not quite sure what I want to add. I also have this idea of adding a little bit of blue chamomile, but at this point I'm not going to add that because it's not what I'm after. I think we'll add a little bit of, I have this field thyme, which is also high in linalool. It's also quite strong. I'm going to add a couple of drops of this, and then we're going to take a smell of the perfume, and we're just going to assess the situation. So I'll press the tear button. A couple of drops of that. So I've added 3 oils which are high in linalool, and I'm hoping that they have just beefed up the perfume a little, and hopefully the perfume isn't as transparent as it was before, but we will see. So thyme, 2 drops. Okay, let's take another smell. So we'll give it a little stir, and now we'll apply this to my other hand. And already you can really smell the change. It's less transparent, it has more presence, it still smells very masculine, but everything is just blended together. It's a nice cohesive mix. And it's definitely going in the right direction, but where do we want to go from here? I'm not quite sure what else we want to try to blend into there. I definitely feel like it just needs another accent. It just needs just to have something a little bit more interesting going on. But it is quite beautiful as it stands. It's definitely very masculine. We haven't went down another avenue. The perfume is sort of kept on the same track. It's never really veered off in another direction. So I don't want to make this too complicated at this stage. Maybe I'll make this perfume again and just work on it in my own time, just try and make something more complex. But I think all I want to do at this present moment in time is just complement what's already there. And I don't think we need to do much. I mean, I think that I could add a little bit of ylang ylang, possibly the same amount of ylang ylang as we added, what do we add? 2 drops of clary sage. If I added 2 drops of ylang ylang, that would work well with the clary sage. So maybe that's a possibility. And then possibly if I was going to do that, I would then add some violet molecules, but maybe just something like undecavitol, because I think that clary sage, ylang ylang and violet, I really like that combination, and it still smells masculine, so I think we could get away with that. But I had that idea of adding the dill seed, and I'm not quite sure if I want to add that now, because I think that it would possibly make it more interesting. But it just depends on how well it blends. It could end up smelling more like a pickle, and I really don't want that. But this smells rather beautiful. It's definitely a very clean smelling perfume. It's a very fresh. It's definitely watery, even a little aquatic. We don't have any typical aquatic molecules in there, but it has a sense of cleanliness. It has a sense of freshness. It has a sense of water. I'm even tempted just to leave it there. It's definitely works quite well. What can we add? I've definitely gone off the idea of adding labdanum to the base. I think I'll just leave it as it is. I definitely don't think I want to add any rosewood to the top. I don't think I want to add any whole leaf to the heart. Let's have a look what we added. What did we add to the... We added champaca leaf, we added lesser galangal, some ply, a little bit of a jasmine sambac base. We added the cucumber base, the tomato leaf, and we added some hedione. So we've added the basil, we've added the clary sage, we've added the thyme. Yeah, what can we do? What can we do? Maybe, because I want to keep the freshness, so I don't think adding anything that's I don't think adding rosewood or whole leaf or anything that's woody would sort of make it any fresher, any cleaner smelling. I think it would definitely take the perfume in the opposite direction. Obviously, dill seed would be, you know, an oil to add in terms of freshness, in terms of adding to the character. Yeah, maybe we'll just add some and see what happens. Yeah, I think let's just experiment. Let's just go for it. Let's have a look if we have it here. I think we probably do. A little bit of dill seed. Oh, that's ylang ylang. We'll put that at one side. We may add a little bit. Dill seed. Okay. Now dill seed is quite potent. You definitely don't need a lot. A drop or two is normally enough, and I don't want to add too much because I want the perfume to have a sense of it, but I definitely don't want to smell the perfume and think of pickles. So I think maybe we'll add 2 drops. I could add 1, but I think we'll just see what happens. So 2 drops of dill seed. And shall we add a little bit of ylang ylang? This is actually a 25% in ethanol. And it's fairly strong, this one. Yeah, so 25%. So if we add a couple of drops of this, it's 50% of a normal drop. So yeah, let's just get a little bit in there, see what happens. So we've added a little bit of ylang ylang. That's 2 drops of a 25% concentration. And I think at this point we'll just smell it and see what's happened. So we'll rub a little bit on my hand. And take a smell. So what I feel like is that it definitely doesn't smell like a pickle, the fragrance, and that dill seed has just really enhanced what was already there. So it's just boosted that watery texture that we've managed to get into the perfume. And the ylang ylang I don't really get. You know, ylang ylang blends very well with clary sage, and you know, I didn't want the ylang ylang to stand out because I didn't want it to be a star of the show. I definitely just wanted to keep this accord that we already have. It doesn't seem to have done any damage. I'm not too sure what I think of the perfume, if I'm honest though. And I don't really have any ideas about where to go next. The only thing I can think of doing is just you know, experiment and see what happens. It's often at this point in the perfume where I really do like to experiment, just to you know, see what kind of results we can get. I have the perfume written down up until this point. I would probably say that I would have probably have stopped at the thyme, or possibly have added the dill seed, not added the ylang ylang, because obviously I get a sense that the ylang ylang has changed something in there that I don't really like. It's not the end of the world, but it's not to my preference. So I would probably make the perfume again up until the thyme and then just leave it there. I think the perfume was you know, it was a simple perfume. It was fresh, it was light, it wasn't too transparent, wasn't, you know, too dense. It had a very masculine tone. It was very pleasing to the nose, very clean smelling, very fresh. It was a nice little perfume, you know. You could definitely just play around with it yourself, add some notes to it, just experiment. I mean, that's possibly what I'm going to do right now. But I think in order to take this back to where it was, I just need to really add a little bit more thyme, or a little bit more basil, and I think that would probably do the trick. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit more thyme. So I'm just going to try adding another couple of drops. Yeah. So this is a field thyme, and I think this just might neutralize the ylang ylang. And I'm kind of running out of places to test this perfume. If you watched the previous videos, I explained that on my body there are only these parts of my hand. They're the only parts that can stand the oils. Everywhere else, the oils just eat my skin, and we're running out of areas. But despite that fact, so we'll apply some to my wrist this time. And that's definitely smelling a lot better to my nose. It's definitely more back to where we were. The thyme oil really makes a difference in this perfume. It's actually the thyme, it's added a really nice nuance to the perfume that wasn't there before. It's definitely, you know, contributed to the soul of the perfume. And I think I'm just going to leave it there. Ideally, I would go back. I would not add the ylang ylang, and I think it was fine without the dill seed. So I can do that if I like. And you know, if you make this perfume at home, you just play around with it, experiment. You know, it's a good basis. It's as I said, it's watery, it's fresh. It's light, it's aquatic even, it's masculine. It's a good basis for any kind of a masculine perfume, really. It's definitely it definitely could be taken in different directions depending on whatever your personal tastes are. And it's nothing too complicated, so you know, you could definitely individualize it for yourself. So yeah. But yeah, it smells really nice, you know. It's definitely a good base for a masculine perfume. I will say, actually, something that I realized when I was basically going over the footage of the other videos that I made, I realized that when I was talking about the base in the video, I actually had added an oil that wasn't mentioned. It seemed to have been cut off in the editing process. But when I actually smelled the base and I said that I really liked it and this would really work in a perfume as it is, I actually had added 3 drops of an ambergris perfume oil. Now you could add any kind of an ambergris molecule. You could have added 3 drops of ambroxan, or 2 drops, whatever. You could have used ambroxide, you could have used Ketalox or something like that. So off camera I continued with the perfume and I made it a lot more complex. Some of the oils that I added included lavender, magnolia, bay leaf, anthropogon, ethyl saffronate, padma, caraway seed, borneol, undecavitol, blue chamomile, lavandin, cypress, rosewood, cassia, phenylethyl alcohol, vetiver, champignon oil, labdanum. I added a little bit of palmarosa, anisal alcohol, spearmint, black pepper, and I added a touch of malonal. I didn't change the character too much. It's still fresh, it's still watery, it's still masculine. I'd say it has a lot more character now, and I think that's down to the cassia most of all, because it's not a cinnamon perfume. The cassia bar kind of takes a seat in the background, but it does alter the smell, definitely makes it more interesting, and as well as it being fresh and watery, it's something else now as well. So yeah, play around with your own formula, individualize it. You've got some base notes there. Up until this point of me going forward with the perfume off camera, I hadn't even added any top notes to the perfume. It was just base notes and heart notes. There's no rule that says that you must add top notes. In some perfumes, I think when a perfume needs some top notes. I think this perfume at that point when I decided to continue off camera, the reason why I did that is because I really felt like the perfume would benefit from some top notes. The perfume felt incomplete to me. I was happy with the base. I was happy with the base so much that I remade the base off camera and just added it to some ethanol just to wear as it was with just the base notes. But yeah, after adding the heart notes, it wasn't quite coming together for me. It felt incomplete. You get a sense when there's more to be done, despite what you may feel about the smell. I see a perfume as a bunch of textures. It's not just an olfactic experience for me. It's also, there's sort of things going on in my mind's eye. There are shapes, there are colors, and there are memories of textures, of feeling textures in my hands. So I always consider all these things as well. So that's basically why I, decided to add the top notes, make the perfume a lot more complex, because I thought that it didn't work as a more simpler perfume. It needed more notes in there to feel complete. So that's basically why I made it more complex. Now, what I also did was I remade the perfume up until the point where I added the thyme oil, and basically from there I just added some top notes. So instead of adding the extra base notes, extra heart notes, I just kept it simple, but I just tried adding a few top notes just to have a bit of contrast. So I made 10 milliliters up of these 2 different perfumes. Both are a 15% concentration. And in the more simpler perfume, I just added some bergamot to the top. I added a touch of undecavitol, a touch of mahagonate, and I think I added some black pepper oil as well, and a little bit of cardamom. And you get very different results, but the main character, the main theme of the perfume in both perfumes is the same. It's fresh, it's watery. In the more complex one, You've got the mint in the top, so it's minty, it's cool, it's refreshing, it's fresh, and you get that lovely cinnamon note. So it's also a little, it's dry as well as being watery. The cassia adds a dryness, and it's also green. And it works. It's nice. But if you compare that to the more simpler one, it's a lot lighter. It's fresh. It's crisp. It's green, and you get more of the base in there, more of the qualities that I liked about the original bass notes. That comes through more. Because obviously you've got a lot less heart notes, and they definitely shine through more. They definitely come through to the top and the heart. So that's why I like this one. This one is definitely, there's just some slight changes to the top which really help the perfume out, but it's basically the same perfume up until the thyme oil. This is something, I think I favor this one more, but I think the reason why is just because of the contrast, and it's the cassia bark that makes the difference, because it's what makes this one that bit different. But both fantastic perfumes, both good little perfumes, and you can definitely just put your own together. I mean, what I want you to get from this video is just just the belief that you can make your own perfume. It doesn't have to be complicated, and you don't have to think about it at all. Just use your nose. That's all I've done making this perfume, these two perfumes. I just followed my nose, didn't apply any knowledge of chemistry. I'm not trying to make the perfume last for hours. I haven't particularly used oils for diffusion, or I haven't really thought about it in any kind of way. There's been no academic approach to making this perfume. It's purely just me using the awareness that I've built up, following my nose, and just trusting my sense of smell. And that's kind of how I like to make a perfume. I like each perfume to be all about discovery, so I really just like to follow my awareness. So I implore you to do the same. I hope you have gotten some valuable information from me making this perfume. I made a part 1, a part 2. This will be the final part 3. Let me know if you like these kind of videos. I don't know if you do or not. I am aware that making videos about molecules and different kinds of naturals are really helpful, especially if you are just beginning, because they give you a little bit of insight into what these oils smell like and what they can do, because it's often misleading, I find, when you order things over the internet if you haven't smelled them before, because you're going off a little description of them. And of course, smell is subjective, so what tends to happen is things aren't what you expect them to be, and there can be some disappointment there. So I will make some more videos like that, but I would enjoy making more videos like this as well. So let me know if you find it of some use. I would say that I at present I do find it a little difficult to make a perfume and talk about me making a perfume at the same time, because when I'm making a perfume, I'm not really that conscious of things. Everything's going on a subconscious level. I'm just using an awareness that's already built up. So sometimes when I try to put it into words, what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing, I find it a little difficult, but I think the more I do this, the better at it I will become. So let me know if you would like to see me making more perfumes in the future. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and have fun making perfume.